My topic for this assessment is about shark nets and how these are affecting the marine life within Australia, specifically looking at our shark population. Shark nets were first introduced to reduce the chance of shark attacks on our beaches. In my investigation, I have been closely looking at great white sharks, as these are one of the shark species being targeted by these nets. Whites take a long time to mature and their gestation period is also quite long. During a female great white shark's life, she will only produce 2 to 10 pups every 2 to 3 years. So therefore, with this data, you can already see that the great white population is not as replenished as quickly as other marine life. The Department of Environment has said, available data suggests that there has been a decline in the abundance and size of great white sharks in Australian waters. The government has some great data, as you can see in this graph. These are the figures for sharks caught within their nets between 1997 and 2014. I have pointed out on the graph each one of the targeted sharks in the various years. As you can see, there has been a large amount of each being captured within these nets over the years. The national average of great white sharks caught in these nets per year is 13.8. This is lower than when the shark net was first introduced. But is this due to their poor reproduction and their rapid rate they are being caught? Shark nets in today's society is very much debated. The Humane Society International have said in a report, Humane Society International also nominated the nets and drumlines used on ocean beaches in shark control programs as a key threatening program under the Environment Protection and Biodiversity Conservation Act. So what does this mean? Great whites are already classed as vulnerable species under the Environment Protection and Biodiversity Act. If this pattern continues, they will become endangered or possibly extinct. Lucky for our marine life, there has been technological advances when it comes to finding sustainable alternatives to shark nets. There are many alternatives to shark nets that are not detrimental to the population of our marine life, such as helicopter patrols, tagging and tracking sharks, masking the sounds of people in the ocean, and broadcasting orca sounds underwater. Local and federal governments are looking also into the investments of drones and electrical deterrents such as sonar. Shark nets were designed to target potentially life-threatening sharks, and these are the great white, the bull, and the tiger sharks. Like all sharks, we see most activity around September to April. We are always advised to never go swimming at dawn, dusk, and after a storm, as this is when sharks are at their most active. These two images put into perspective for you what a shark net is. They are generally 500 metres offshore and are 200 metres long depending on the size of the beach. They can range from 3 to 6 metres in depth. Sharks normally only get caught within these nets as they make their way back out to sea. As this is a wild debate in today's society, and more alternatives are being discovered, more conservationists and organisations are pushing to ban shark nets. As they see this data I have shown you today, they believe that we as society have an obligation to ban the nets and use more humane ways of deterring sharks from our beaches. So it is time for you to make a decision about whether or not to get behind an organisation such as Save Our Sharks and lobby against the government to use more sustainable ways of protecting our swimmers, but also our precious ecosystem. Without sharks, our ecosystem will fail.